Wonderful. Okay, well, hello. For everybody who I have not had the chance to meet yet, my name is Madison Han, and I am the meetings and event manager here at Doug. So I help run our local meetup program as well as our regional program. And I'm here just to tell you a little bit about Doug and kind of what all we offer, and help answer any questions you guys might have. So Doug, or Dynamics User Group, is a free community for users, implementers, and resellers of Microsoft Business applications. We mainly focus on Dynamics 365, GP, Power Platform, and AI. And we hope to give everybody the tools to excel and grow in their personal and professional careers by offering lots of different ways to gain tons of educational content and networking as well. Our rules of engagement is that we essentially ask that these meetups are held to be solely educational. So please no sales pitches. We want everybody to be able to come to these meetups and learn and not be sold a product unless you are one of our sponsors. We also ask that as an attendee, you engage with your speaker. I think that our speakers always appreciate lots of questions. And at the end of the day, that's how you learn the most and gain the most out of these meetups as well. And I'm sure that our speaker will tell you how they would prefer questions to be asked. So Doug has a lot of different programs. We have open online discussion forums where you can kind of go through to a specific D365 product and ask specific questions about your product. You can ask company specific questions or product specific, and the community will help answer those questions. We also have online webinars, which you can join. We have some conferences, which I'll get into in a little bit. We have local meetups like this one. And I also mentioned that we have a YouTube channel where all of our local meetups that are held virtually get posted. So really great way to see what the rest of the world is talking about in D365. And we also have a mentorship program. This is somewhat new, but we essentially have a program where you can get partnered with a mentor or you can be a mentee. So if you're interested in signing up for that, it's a really great way to get involved in the community and kind of grow in your professional career. So feel free to check out our website if you're interested in that. Next up is Convergence on December 9th through the 12th in Miami this year. Some of you have been around for a while are probably somewhat familiar with Convergence. This year, we're going to be mainly focusing on AI and D365. This is mostly Microsoft content. They kind of came to Doug and said, hey, we want to bring this back. Can you help us do it? And that's what we're doing. So this will be, again, December 9th through the 12th and mainly led by Microsoft. We'll have a few Doug speakers as well, but mostly Microsoft content and kind of telling everybody what's new and what to expect and all of the good things. So really excited to be bringing this back. And then we also have our DynamicsCon in 2026 coming up. This will be May 12th through the 15th in Las Vegas. We have our early bird pricing going on right now that will last until December 31st, and that is the cheapest that these tickets will get. So if you're interested in attending, please scan that QR code and you can get signed up. But again, a multi-day conference. I think you guys are all probably pretty familiar with conferences, but lots of networking, educational sessions. I think we have over 300 educational sessions throughout the week. So really, really great information, and we would encourage you all to be there. And then lastly, we have I need to update this to 2026 DynamicsCon regionals, but we have ours being announced soon. So look out for that on our socials the first week of November. And we're going to be posting all of our regionals for 2026. But if you're not familiar with regionals, these are a little bit larger in scope than our local meetups, but not quite a big conference. They're usually around 200 to 300 people. Full day event in person and go to different regions across the world. So really looking forward to it. We're continuing to grow internationally, so keep an eye out on socials for all of that. And that's all for me. Please let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll kind of pop some information that I presented in the chat as well, but here to help. And with that, I'll pass it back over to our speaker. Thanks, everybody.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Madison. And yeah, before we jump to the speaker, just want to quickly introduce Chime. So Chime is a Microsoft MVP for business applications and is a senior low-code consultant. And he's also a Microsoft certified trainer. So he's been driving force in the Power Platform community, like constantly sharing knowledge, mentoring others, and simplifying complex concepts into actionable learning. So yeah, really excited to have Chime today, and he'll be talking about Power Platform Admin Center, which I believe is a hot topic now, especially with like Microsoft sort of investing more on the PPAC to sort of like make that a one-stop shop for anything around administration related to like Power Platform. So yeah, really excited to have Chime do the session today. So yeah, over to you, Chime.
Yeah, thank you, Pradeep, for that. I'll share my screen so we can get started. Let me know when you can see the screen. I've got so many screens here, so I don't know which one I'm sharing.
Yep,
um,
we can see it now. Perfect.
which one can you see?
The
Power
slide.
Platform
Oh,
Admin
right.
Center.
Oh, yeah, cool. All right. Because you went the other way. Yeah, thanks for that introduction. What I'm going to be talking about today, as you can see, it
Were
says
you in here,
new.
Taylor? I didn't see you start the meeting up.
Okay, that's not me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miguel, I'm going to go
Sorry.
ahead and mute you. Unless you had a question, you can drop it in the chat.
Can you hear me?
So as the slide just says, is new. I think around about April. So we've got this new Power Platform Admin Center. Just like Pradeep, you just mentioned, Microsoft is investing heavily on this. So it wants this to be this one-stop shop where even like we're seeing F&O people coming into using PPAC as well. Just a one-stop shop where all the governance, all the security, administrators, consultants, but mainly like admins can, utilize the Power Platform Admin Center and just manage all the different apps and all the Power Automate flows that we've been building. Yeah, just one-stop shop, all the licenses and whatever that we may have within the Power Platform Admin Center. So that's mainly my topic, and I will say this topic is usually like around 45 minutes. Also, there will be some time for like, questions as well to follow. Um, Normally the way I used to run this before was more kind of like, demo, like, just to kind of like show you like the new features and all the shiny bits around the PPAC area. But now I've structured it into a bit more around, governance. How can administrators use it to kind of like, scale up, the Power Platform Admin Center. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, the Power Platform is growing very fast. Yeah. And with all this growth, we all know, with AI, Copilot Studio, all the agents that is all over the place. Um, there needs to be a bit of a governance, right? So unless everything is just gonna be like chaos, yeah. So it's all around looking at different ways how we can bring structure, how we can look at bringing security, and also success using the PPAC area. Okay. Just a bit intro, like myself, this is just me. I've got a QR code there. You can connect me on LinkedIn. I'm MVP and I'm NCT. I also train a lot courses on the BizApps area and also security, Microsoft security area. I do have a blog. I talk about, all the things that I help out customers with. I'm also very passionate about teaching, and yeah, I've been an MVP since 2022 2021 2022. Yeah. And yeah, my day job, I also work as a consultant, right? So just helping my organizations. I work on the financial services side of things, looking at mainly now around governance and how we can use obviously center of excellence and make sure like all my team are actually building and utilizing the right applications as well. Okay. How we can obviously govern at scale as well. Okay. So just to kickstart off this, is there anyone here that obviously has not used the Power Platform Admin Center before? I will usually start with this question because sometimes quite a lot of people have not used it before.
Yeah, I've used the old one and I absolutely hated it. So the new one
Yeah.
hopefully is much better because the old one was pretty complex and it was so
It
difficult to
was, it was,
find
it was
things here
horrendous.
there.
Yeah,
Right.
it was. So basically, this new layout now, right? The new admin center is there. Like I said, there's lots of local development that is going on. There needed to be a bit of a control, visibility. The old one was just all over the place, right? Like the toggles, it wasn't standardized as well. But here, as you can see, with within this session, it's more kind of like more streamlined, it's more, you know, dynamic. It's meant for you to go somewhere and just find the right information that you need. More like a command, control center, kind of like a hub. Okay. For those that don't know, the Power Platform Admin Center just provides us with that portal. I call it a unified portal where obviously CE, I mentioned, like, F&O is also coming in towards the PPAC. So things like your Dynamics 365 sales, your marketing, your field service, your project operations, somewhere that you can come in and manage all your environments and all your settings for your applications, right? So just to give you a bit of a context, like I said, I do work within the financial services side, so it's heavily regulated, and like, banking, and I've also worked in different areas where it's very difficult to, say, for example, install a Power Platform Center of Excellence. So the COE kit is also similar, or on a bigger scale of what the admin center is now. So you can see lots of places that are regulated. They find it not easy, to say, oh yeah, go on and install a COE kit or Center of Excellence starter kit, as it's called, within their tenant. Yeah. But you've got a license, we've got a tenant. So we've seen that, yes, lots of people can actually utilize the Power Platform Admin Center, where you can see things like, information, you can see things like, your different settings. You can get a lot of tips of what's going on within, your tenant. Whereas the COE, like I said, is a bit more bigger than what the PPAC is. But this is kind of like a good starting ground for an administrator, an engineer, a consultant to come in and just dig in and see what's happening within your tenant. Yeah. So the Power Platform Admin Center, the previous one, yeah, came in, like, I think around like 2016. That was around the time I got into Dynamics as well. There was very little that you can do within it, very little. But these days, with this new improved one, there's lots of different areas where you can go in, like your security, your first line of defense. There's so much activities now on there. Your out of the box, where you can monitor your activities, your licensing, your features, and all your data loss prevention policies as well. There's a lot more in there, right? I'll also just give you a brief demo of what it looks like. But more recently, yeah, we call it PPAC, as it's called. It sounds so cool, like saying Power Platform Admin Center. That's a bit of a mouthful, but PPAC is what it is, okay? So for this session, I'm just going to kind of like start off with why governance is actually really crucial, yeah? And then we can move into how, PPAC can help us manage and obviously secure the platform itself, yeah? Towards the end of it, there will be like some best practices, there will be some takeaways, there will be some ways, or will I say tips on how you can strengthen your tenant strategy while you're using the Power Platform Admin Center, okay? So let's just dive in and set this stage. Like, why do governance, or there's a lot of, talks around, governance, talk about managed environments later, but, there's changes the way organizations are working now, right? There's a lot more shadow IT. Obviously, you can also talk about, Copilot and bring it into this picture. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot of unmanaged applications. Um, there's a lot of makers, like, building stuff within organizations as well. So there's also, like, need for security. Yeah. So there's areas that are not where it's like, your data loss prevention, or whether it's your security permissions. there needs to be a lot more strengthened. Nowadays, people can just build stuff. Anyone can just come in, be your tenant, create your own personal environment, which is great. Don't get me wrong. That's what we want, right? Within the platform, we want people to come in and, you know, automate those, you know, mundane tasks that, you know, we need to power automate and just build those, you know, Canvas app or model driven app, and, you know, just utilize it in a day-to-day processes. Yeah. But without any guardrails, right, we're going to lose control. We're going to lose insight of where things are, where these apps are, who's building what, how many has been built, and what is the general use of all these applications. So governance isn't about, you know, limiting creativity, because I've also seen that, you know, firsthand. And in some organizations, they're like, oh yeah, you're bringing in too many governance now. That means a lot of people are not going to be more open to start building stuff or experimenting with applications. It's not about that. It's not about limiting that. We want, you know, people, organizations want more of that. But more, I would say, is about building responsibly, you know, having all these innovations, right? Like, you know, maintaining that responsibility. Yeah. So this is where the PPAC also gives you all the necessary tools within the platform to do exactly that, to just try and, you know, govern and enable users to kind of like, you know, innovate responsibly, basically. Yeah. So I always say to, or like when I'm giving out, you know, some sessions on this, I always say it's not about, you know, a dashboard, because I have had, you know, situations where people see it and I'm like, oh yeah, it's just a dashboard, isn't it? It's like Power BI. But no, it's actually your window into the Power Platform landscape. Is that actually your window into how Power Platform lives in your organization? Yeah. It also helps to give administrators, you know, control over who can create what, right? Who can create those environments, for example. Yeah. Who can lock down stuff? Who can, how does your data flow? How can you curate it? How can you bring in all the necessary connectors within your tenant? You know, where are the risks? Where can you see all those risks? So it's more of like a control center, like a mission control center. You see all those kind of like, you know, NASA kind of like control centers. Yeah, it's what it is, right? It just gives you that control over your Power Platform estate. Yeah. And if I can just quickly just, you know, show you as well, I've got like a, you know, a dev, you know, tenant that I'm using at the moment. So if I can just bring that up so you can see, let me know when you can see that, if that's okay. Nope. Can you see on my screen?
Yes, we can see it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see.
Also, like I said, I've got so many screens. So if you want to ask a question or anything like that, I might not possibly say it on the chat. Just shout. I want it to be, you know, interactive, so we can just, you know, it doesn't feel like I'm talking to myself. You know, can't feel free to ask questions anytime. We can just pause. So yes, this is what this area or the PPAC area is a centralized management area. If you go into your toggle on there, so if you got say for example on the left hand side navigation pane, you got these things like, you know, your actions, what actions and what security do you want to, how do you want to improve your tenants, and is there any actions or recommendations that you want to, you know, obviously give to your tenant. If there's any history, I'm not going to go obviously all through this, but just to give you an idea, this is what it looks like. If you go onto the homepage, it actually, you can also kind of like do some customizations on the cards as well. You can add some more cards, but essentially this is where it gives you the cards, where you also have your message center. If there's anything, like instead of going into M365 to see whether anything is down in Power Automate, it will also just kind of like, you know, flag up here if there's anything like, yeah. Documentation wise, you also have like some documentation on the left hand side here. So things around, you know, Power Platform adoption, anything around licensing. On the recommendation side of things, yes, if there's any recommendation, you tell you kind of like a clearer picture of what you expect from a command center then from there you can start digging into find out what the issues are. Yeah. What's new is also a very good one that just came up with this new PPAC. You can actually go into Microsoft Learn. It will tell you what's new within the Microsoft Power Platform admin documentation. If there's anything that changed, any guide, troubleshooting, anything around Copilot, it will actually also just take you in there and show you that as well. Yeah. So yeah, this is how you get to it. You can also go in through to Microsoft 365 as well. Within your administration center, you can also click in there and it will just take you into your PPAC admin center as well. Yeah.
Hey, Chime, have
So
you
yeah.
found value in those graphs? So I saw two, like there was one pie chart and
Okay.
a
Well,
graph.
this one's the security. This
Yeah,
one's
yeah.
basically like it's still in preview, so I don't want to say I found a lot
Mm-hmm.
of value in it. Microsoft is still improving it. It's
Mm-hmm.
more kind of like your score around those recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know if you use Microsoft 365 Purview, you also have this kind of like security manager recommendations action. So what Microsoft has done is just brought the Power Platform ecosystem security into the PPAC yeah, into PPAC as well. Yeah.
Perfect.
I've not really utilized, like the scores or taking
Mm-hmm.
actions against the scores, but I believe it's still growing, an area that is still growing in the
Mm-hmm.
future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even like the trend as well. So what scores, if your scores are low based on recommendations, it will actually show you like, what trend or why your score has dropped within, the last week or something. You can drill down into it within the last 30 days and within the last 15 days as well.
Mm-hmm.
But from a governance perspective, it just gives you a clearer picture as an
Mm-hmm.
admin where you can come in and look at things and then start diving into, what's wrong or what is the security score low or why or how can I improve based on the recommendations that have been given.
Makes sense. And I know like Microsoft has been like pushing managed environments heavily. Is that a topic that you're planning to cover today?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. I'll just touch up on it, but it is, part of, governance as well,
Mm-hmm.
where, yeah, I'll plan to touch up on that as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
So just to give you an idea of the navigation. So the main things we're looking at here is obviously the home dashboard, like as we can see. This is called the home dashboard. We also have like the managed area here. So this is where you can manage your users, where you can look at your environments, all your resources and things like that. So basically if you want to create a new environment, this is where you can come in. We talked about just manage environments now, but you also have like environment groups where you can actually group your environments as well and put some rules on those environments. Anything around tenant settings. So anything that's applicable through your organization. For example, you can control access how people access content within your tenant. So things like customer lockbox and things like that. You can actually just enable that as well. Yeah, just to make sure that there's a policy within your tenant. But there's a lot more. There's a lot more that you can look at here. Analytics is also one of them, and yeah, there's a lot more that you can see. But from the old interface or the old UI, it's more streamlined using the new PPAC. Like you can see things a bit more clearer. Yeah, there's a bit more control on what you can. If you want to create your environment, it's more straightforward um, for you to do that. Also, under manage, you can also look at things like different products. So things like, say, for example, Power Apps. You can also look at your Canvas or your model-driven apps. There's also like, things like filters. You can narrow it down to like, usage, if there's any errors within those applications, whether there's any connectors, say, for example, that you're using in Canvas app, for example, you can also just be able at a glance to see that within your environment view as well. So within overview, things like I don't really heavily use this development environment. So there's not really much data in here, but just to give you an idea, like it's not just the demo, but just to show you like where things are, the usage, will be able to tell you that. You can drill down to Power Automate, to Power Pages even, and also to Copilot Studio now as well. Yeah. And what sites there is, what is the site ID, when was that site created, and things like that. Within Copilot Studio as well, if you build out any agent, you'll be able to list out the agent names and also what date or what environment are those agents created on. If they are out of the box agents, for example, it will also be able to tell you that as well. Because you can see, like, I've got some trial environments and I've got some out of the box agent, like some sales agents and custom service agent. I've also built some personal agents. As you can see, I'm the owner of those agents there as well, that I've used in one of my environments as well. For Dataverse, which is actually very key, you also look into what are the kind of like, active users. You can actually, as an admin, use your PPAC just to get an idea of what are the active users, who are the users, what active users are performing the most operations, and if there's any system jobs within like your Dataverse environments. You can also come in here and change some filters and look more into that as well. Now, I've just talked about this. Another thing I want to talk about is the strategy itself. Like, what's the environment strategy? Especially when it comes to governance, there's still some people up to today, you will not believe it, that are still looking at the default environment and just building out, whether they're creating, for example, like forms and columns and tables within your default environments. Yeah. So there also needs to be, as part of governance, there needs to be an environment strategy, which is, I would say, one of the most overlooked aspects of governance. Everything actually starts from environments. Yeah. So as a admin, as a consultant, as a solution architect, you have to actually decide early on where you create your environment, or who can create those environments, and why are you creating those environments, right? Are you creating environments? Are you using sandboxes just for testing? Are you just creating, to trial environments? Are you creating production environments because that's what is going to be used for the actual business processes? So you need to be able to develop some best practices around environment strategy. You want to be able to keep your platform healthy. And trust me, if you start from curating a bad environment or not having an environment strategy, things always start going from bad to worse from there. I've seen it happen. There are some best practices that needs to be in place. Simple things like your naming conventions for your columns and your tables and things like that. Are you defining clear ownership? What are the default environment? Are you actually using them? Like, what should you actually use them? That should actually be a personal productivity environment. It shouldn't be used, to, build stuff and then ship stuff to production from there. Is there like a plan life cycle? Are you creating environments? Yes, you can have or curate, as many environments as you want to curate, maybe for sandboxing or for testing, for example. But do you also have a plan of decommissioning them? Are you also taking them out of use? Are you just not going to use them? I've seen, on managed environments or like environment lists where there's hundreds of them and only about 20 are in use. So if you're not using them, the admin is the admin person cleaning them up as well. When it comes to having a plan or best practice, I would say, uh, I've also seen, for example, where on a particular environment where things like, your settings, are you using like, the right themes? Are you using some language? What language are you using for it? What are the necessary time zones are you using for that environment? Are you curating them via your platform, Power Platform, settings, things like that? Are you going in and making sure that, yes, all those things are already established as well. So a bit of like, you know, a cleaning up exercise, should I say. For example, yeah, having that strategy of keeping your platform healthy. When we talk about governance, we also talk about, you know, security, and security is very, very important because that brings a lot of clarity within um, within your Power Platform ecosystem. We talk about, you know, what roles do we need to have in place? What are the secure roles? So, for example, like, are you having, you know, the right data loss prevention policies? Are you separating your business app from your non-business apps? What do you expect people to use? Like, are you making sure that everything is ring fence and making sure that, you know, people are not going into or seeing what they're not supposed to see? We also talk about what Microsoft is heavily promoting now, which is the managed environments. Managed environments basically is where you have additional features and you can, it's more stable. There's more governance features within your managed environments, and we'll come into that later. But also looking at your conditional access, do you have any sensitivity labels like we have like in Purview? Because right now you can also look at all the people like auditing, for example, within your Power Platform environment. You can also put some controls around, you know, who is seeing or who has access to what, right? Are there any retention policies that you're putting in place within your Power Platform landscape as well? Do you have that in place? Are you making sure that, yes, your data is there, not just forever? Are you putting in a timeline into that data? This is more technical, but this is also around security, where we start talking about, you know, bulk deletion and things like that. I currently work with a client where, before I came into the project, they were literally keeping everything forever. Like I said, heavily regulated banking industry, um, where they want to see everything, right? But is that the right way? Maybe you want to see everything, but you probably want to create like, you know, a flow that might be able to bulk delete some stuff, you know, like, you know, some users that are no longer there, or, you know, some columns that are not really like, you know, things like that. What data do you want to automate that process to delete? Because you also want to have enough capacity within your environments as well. AI is changing the game, of how we build and manage our applications. Within Power Platform is there. It is there. Has it come up to expectation yet? I would say not 100%, but it is actually coming up, right? So things like, you know, your Microsoft, you know, your plan, you know, using your plan to build out your apps and things like that. So we need to be able to prepare our tenants for AI, yeah? So are you enabling Copilot? So within PPAC, there's a Copilot area where you can obviously, you know, do your monitoring, obviously do your Copilot readiness as well. So you need to be able to enable Copilot responsibly in PPAC. All right. So Copilot within the Power Platform, yeah, is all about generating flows, applications, you know, different queries. Yes, it's all about that, but remember that there also has to be some governance that applies, right? So every admin should make sure that all that data that you're using, your prompts, that you're using, like, you know, to build out your plans and things like that, or you're building out your flows, just make sure that they are compliant and that they are secure. Yeah. So within the PPAC, Microsoft also has an area within Copilot that you can, or that helps to, you know, manage all that readiness, you know, help you within that Copilot settings, within bring out some reporting, you know, some analytics to monitor your Copilot usage as well. Yeah. I'll show you what that looks like as well. But I also got like a picture of, you know, on the slide of, you know, what the or preparing, or like I say, readiness, Copilot readiness is all about. You also include things like video tutorials where you can go in, you know, learn on how to prepare for your Copilot journey within your organization tenant, which I think is really, really awesome. A lot of people come in here, they don't really look at it, they don't really watch these videos. But I think this section for every Power Platform admin is quite heavy, but I think it equips every administrator with resources. You know, there's different tools in there that could actually help you to optimize your Copilot features. Yeah. So like I said on the card, there's readiness, there's videos, there's documentation. It also tells you what's new, which is actually quite cool as well. So what's new within Copilot. So all the tools that are responsible for and ethical for you to use, and with across your application, you also be able to read or get some information from there. We also have, like, you know, the Copilot settings itself. So this is more like I call it like a roadmap. So you can see, like, you know, it's got some governance, it's got some settings, it's got some Copilot Studio settings, some Power App settings as well. It's more like a comprehensive roadmap for organizations to adopt and govern their Copilot. As an admin, it will empower your teams to harness your AI productivity as well. So somewhere that, yeah, you can go and, yeah, there's lots of information on there. Yeah, as you can see on the screen. I'll show you that as well. Yeah. Anyway, let's just go into it now. So if you go into, say, for example, Copilot there. So there's been some changes since I put that slide up. There's been some changes within it. There's more, it's kind of like, I would say, even more easier to kind of like read off from, right? So if you want to click on Copilot Studio, for example, what's new in Copilot Studio, you can actually just, you know, click and learn more. And it will tell you, for example, yeah, enable agent creation from natural language. When is it happening? When is it in private preview? When is it coming off private preview? When is it going to be you know, available globally? And how would that obviously affect your organization as well, which I think is like really, really cool. You can just come in here and find out some more information. Some Copilot Studio kits for starters around governance, around agent architecture building. You also find that in there as well. If there's any recommendation to improve your Copilot or to improve your agent, you can also just come in here and look at that, the severity of the agent or of the action, and look at what recommendations it will probably give you. Like, there's nothing on my developer tenants, so there's nothing really there. But just, guys, just try it, you know, within your one, and just see probably if there's anything that's going to come out, and look at, you know, and just play around with it. Basically, we also have monitoring, around monitoring. So we've got monitoring and insights, yeah, where it gives you some analytics around your Power Platform, your apps, your Copilot Studio, your Power Automates. It also gives you capacity reports as well. You need to have a Power Platform administrator role or system admin role to be able to see some of this within your Power Platform tenants as well. So things like your capacity wise, you know, what database, what file storage you have, what logs do you have, your audit logs and your usage. You can also be able to see that. You can also, I've talked about Microsoft Purview integration. You can also get some of that data that you already see in Microsoft Purview as well. Yeah. So if we look at that monitoring, I don't really like showing, especially if I haven't got enough data, because it's just like anyone just can just come in and see. But it also makes a lot of sense if there's a, you know, a bit of data to display for you to be able to see these things, right? But yeah, I had some issues with my developer plan, so I haven't really been building with it. But I think for my next session, I'll make sure that I populate quite a lot, so you'll be able to see kind of like, you know, some analytics and stuff like that. So within monitoring, you also have, like, you know, alerts, right? So you can also set up around 50 enabled alerts within your tenants. So if there's anything that's happening, you can set up some rules. If there's some trigger, you'll be able to see those triggered alerts in here. And we'll talk about logs as well. But yeah, you can also look at some logs if there's been data here to review a particular item within your tenant. So when it comes to the product itself, say for example, Power Apps, Power Automates, within Power Apps, if there's any model-driven app, if there's any, code apps that you have, you can select a particular app to kind of like, review if there's been any specific recommendation, just kind of like, monitoring, drill down into what is there within your application. Yeah. Within Power Automate is the same. You can just go in and select whichever one that you want. For example, a Power Automate flow that you've built, you can go in and see how you can, obviously, what is the success rate of that, Power Automate flow, what is the Cloudflow flow duration, just kind of like, some monitoring analytics within your Power Platform components as well. So you'll be able to see things like that within like the new PPAC now as well. And when it comes to deployments, so the deployment feature in the Power Platform Admin Center, kind of like, it's more about streamlining your delivery or your deployments. So you can see there's an overview that kind of like gives you a summary of all your deployment activities. If you're using Microsoft Power Platform pipelines, for example, you can also look at, say, for example, insights into your pipeline usage. What are the contents, what are the status of your solution deployments? You'll be able to kind of like, see it there on the overview page. On the pipelines itself, so administrators can come in here and configure their pipelines. You can come in and manage your deployment pipelines as well. So for example, any automation that you've done for your solutions, like any migrations between developments, your testing, your production environment, you can actually just come in here and have a look at those pipelines as well. If there's anything that you want to reuse, for example, as a component, so if there's any catalogs and things like that, you can see some templates. And within your catalogs, you can actually make things a lot more easier for you, right? So just like components that you can reuse all the time. We talk about the granddaddy, which is licensing as well. Yeah, you can, not fully, but as an admin, you can just kind of like have a much more simplified idea into the administration of your licenses by, obviously all the different licenses that we have. If you have a pay-as-you-go plan, you can also just drill into that a bit more, look at the summary, look at the environments that you have within those licenses. If there's any requests that you have for a particular application, or whether it's Power Apps or Power Pages or Power Automates, you'll be able to kind of like drill more in there and see the products that you've licensed. Like I said, I think it will become a one-stop shop for everything licensing, but at the moment, it still doesn't cover it, obviously 100% as at now. Yeah.
Hey, Jimmy, question. So what are your thoughts on the Power Platform COE starter kit? Like, do you think that still has the role to play in this world, or do you think PPAC is going to sort of like take over everything?
I've been using COE for a couple of projects now. It depends on the customer, right? So it depends on what they want to see. It depends on the scale of the customer. So for example, I would say if it's an enterprise, right? Customer is always very advisable to set up a COE kit, manage all the makers and things like that. The way I see this, or the COE moving, I see the PPAC becoming like the new start kits moving forward. Not particularly like, in the next, couple of months, but like, 2026, 26, 27, I don't want to put a date to it, but I see the PPAC becoming like this, because that's essentially what Microsoft is trying to do, right? Just bring in all those reports and everything that we have in COE right now, and kind of like grow the Power Platform Administration Center to be more exactly like a PPAC. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I also see this. I also see like the licensing area actually being built out in such a way you can see F&O has actually been there. So
Mm-hmm.
what is it on? Is it LOC or something that was being used before? All that is coming into PPAC, where in the future this is going to be where everything licensing will be very clear within the platform itself.
Got it. Yep.
Different products, monitoring usage of licenses for every specific Power Platform product. You'll be able to see that here. Support, yeah, is also one that I would say has been a lot easier within the new UI. Oh, right, finally. Yeah, the other one was, I don't know how to explain it, but yes, if you have any issues now, you can create tickets Microsoft, yeah, just like before. But the only different thing is that you can actually see your support tickets, if there's any the status of your support tickets, if there's any known issues, if there's any service health issues as well, you'll be able to just see that as a glance than before. Yeah. So you can see also your service reports within your Power Platform tenants, within your support area as well. Yeah. So yeah, it's amazing. The service health bringing it in here. This will also give you like real insights into your health, into availability of your Power Platform services. Yeah. So just kind of like, makes an admin work a lot easier, identify what the issues, pain points are, address it immediately as well. Yeah. Not entirely, there's not gonna be anything here, sorry, but yeah. Yeah, so you can drill down into what product category you have. If you're, Dynamics 365 for sales, remember this also used to be in service sales in M365, which is also now, some of them is also in the homepage of the PPAC. But this is more like more drilled. You can drill a lot more. You don't have to choose your product category and what are the issues and incidents and advisory. It will be able to tell you that. Yeah, just quickly an area to go in and gain support so that you can maintain your platform to be stable and efficient at the same time. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just worried about the time. I know I'm flying too fast, but guys, like I said, this is just more like a governance aspect of it. How can you do an introduction into the new UI? Where things are? What are kind of like, the best practices and takeaways that, you can take from this or from the new UI itself? All I say to people is, governance is not a one-off project. It's more like a culture that you build into your organization. um my organization that I work in now, like I said, I'll look into like the governance, the security, the adoption of Power Platform within the organization. So it's about automation. Yeah, any task that we can utilize with Power Automate, yeah, automate that admin task, right? I also, like I said, depending on the scale of the organization, I'll always establish a center of excellence. Yeah, a center of excellence is bigger than PPAC, right? But yeah, it's always good to establish that as an admin, have visibility into that because there's a lot more there at the moment, and then just use PPAC as more like a small mirror to mirror what's happening within the platform. Yeah. Just make it a habit of also reviewing your analytics, NF, matter monthly, you can make it weekly, but depending also on how many resources and components that you have or that's been built out, you can also just review them. People that are your makers, just empower them. Don't let them feel like, oh yeah, governance, oh yeah, there's security, or I can't be able to play around and do what I want because then things are locked down. And no, just encourage them, empower them to build safely, safe guideline, your own environment, build out your own application, make sure that like, you're not using the default environment to build out some things. I have this habit of always changing the title of the default environment to personal productivity, for example, just so it doesn't make people like, yeah. And also, as an administrator, just make sure your documentation is up to date. Yeah, if you have documentations that you're preparing, run books that you're building at based on an app or a Power Automate flow, for example, just make sure that you have those documentation and keep those documentation up to date because things do change, right? So a connector might change or a user might leave the organization, and you might just want to use a service principal account in order to build out your flows. Yeah, the COE starter kit, as I mentioned, is a great resource. Yeah, you can actually just start from there, scale it up, or start from the PPAC and scale it up to a COE, right? In order to kind of like know all the process within your organization. That's what I usually do, to be honest. Yes, we do have a PPAC, build it out, but depending on the resources that we have, I do now scale up to a center of excellence. So in summary, in order to govern, to secure and obviously make the whole thing succeed, just build out a structure, build out a strategy, protect your data, your users, make sure everyone is comfortable, enable them, yeah, make sure that they are fine, they have confidence, they can be able to go out there and build up those applications. When it comes to protecting the data as an admin, just make sure you're always enforcing data loss prevention, and make sure that is ring fenced. Yeah, one thing about the PPAC is more, I would say, is more of an admin console. Like when you're playing a game and you have all these dashboards in there. It's more than that. Yeah, it enables success. It enables your users. Enables the organization to be successful. Yeah, as an admin, you're seeing everything at a glance. If there's any issues, you're the number one person that will be able to pick that up because you have this particular dashboard that you've grown within your organization. There's governance, there's insights, and it makes you pretty much innovative. That means within your organization you can innovate faster, and at the same time you can also innovate safer. Yeah, my closing phrase I always say, even now, I say, yeah, we talk about governance, we talk about security, yeah, like everyone is just AI. How is that's gonna happen? How are we gonna start building out these apps? How are we making sure that everything's governed? But let's also understand that the governance isn't the breaker here, yeah, or it's not the brake. It's not gonna stop you from doing those things. It's actually your steering wheel. It's actually going to propel you to have more structure and more strategy to build that better. Yeah. On that note, I would say, yeah, this is just my session around, PPAC without much heavy demo, just to give you like a flavor of what the new UI is and actually what's actually in there and how you can take that to your organization and yeah, and just kick, make your organization better, make that administration of the Power Platform better, knowing that you have these tools, because trust me, not a lot of people know that these things are here and the use or the extent of what these things can do and within PPAC, but just spreading that knowledge, the gospel of saying yes is there, yes, you can use it to enable your organization. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chime. Yeah, extremely timely and yeah, absolutely the need of the hour to like understand the capabilities within PPAC and yeah, like how we can govern and have a more secure environment space. So yeah, really appreciate you doing this session. And I just wanted to quickly wrap it up with an introduction to our next session. So yeah, we are going to do a session on N365 agents, which will be by Nandeep and Smita. So yeah, the plan is to have it on November 14th. So yeah, you should see the meetup link for that created pretty soon. So we're excited about that. Any questions from the group for Chime?
No, it has been a wonderful walkthrough, Chime. Thank you so much for sharing this information.
Thank
And
you.
I mean, though I'm not working a lot on the administration part, so I would say I just go in there when there is some problem in
Yeah.
my code, right?
Yeah.
But yes, looking at this new streamlined interface, it looks much better, much cleaner, and I believe it will be much easier to find the stuff that we are looking for in this new interface. And with the security overviews and everything that we can access from here, it can for sure help us a lot in our in troubleshooting and administration parts that we need to deal with during the development part. So thank you so much for sharing this. This has been a great session.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. Any questions? You know where I am. LinkedIn. Yep. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank
All
you.
right. Cheers.
Have
Yeah.
a
Bye.
great day.
You
Yeah,
too.
bye
Bye.
bye.
Take care.